Hi, SouthRidge family. Pastor Paul here, and we're here with Brent and Pam to celebrate with them. Back in February, Brent was doing a message and shared with us that it has been 20 years that they have been at our church in the role of lead pastor and staff, and we want to celebrate. And so, Brent and Pam, thanks so much. First and foremost, congratulations. That is a huge milestone that very few churches and very few pastors get to celebrate. So I want you to go back in time 20 years ago. And Brent, I don't think you were setting out to be involved in paid staff ministry. What were you doing before you came on staff, and how did that transition come about?
I was a painter. I painted buildings, and I've shared this testimony before with our church. But it was a 23-story high-rise that ultimately altered my course and moved me into ministry. And there's a whole Gideon's fleece story that Pam and I went through that required God to speak to Pam before we jumped into school again and then ministry.
And as you started out on that journey, Pam, did you have any apprehensions? Did you have any fear of what this could look like? And
I went kicking and screaming. I did not want to be a pastor's wife. But God changed my heart and worked in me and told me it was okay.
as you started out in ministry, what were some highlights? What were some of the beginning stages of that first 5 years or so?
I think for the first 5 years of the church, it was like an all or nothing thing. Because you're just starting, it's about survival. People put in hours and hours and hours, and you usually had 3 or 4 jobs you were doing. So many of us who were volunteers would put in 10, 15, 20 hours a week. And so I just remember that community family feel in the first 5 years.
I think everybody did everything. Like, you had to teach Sunday school, you had to serve in the nursery. I didn't have to do worship or anything like that, but yeah, you had to do everything, set up chairs in the gym. But again, it was that community feel. And yeah, you know, I came from the north, I came from a really small church, and so for me to go to a large church was really hard. And then when we planted the church, it became home for me.
And then things started to grow pretty fast, didn't they?
Well, it was kind of in 2 stages, because the first stage was we knew we needed property, but we ended up raising enough money to pay off the property when we had to buy it. And then we kind of had a little bit of a break, because Larry Sundin, our lead pastor, left at that point. And then that's when I became lead, moved from the associate to the lead position. There's just so many stories that came out of that where we were stretched faith-wise, we were stretched giving-wise. I remember we had this big offering as kind of right at the beginning of when we were fundraising for the building, and we set this goal of like $250,000, and I think a lot of the church thought the board was crazy for setting that goal, and yet we met it. I think we ended up with $255,000, and it was like a Christmas offering. And at that point, it seemed that one little part seemed to just solidify in everyone's mind, especially the leadership's mind, that God was in this and this was going to happen.
What have been 1 or 2 really significant moments that God showed up that just helped you to realize this is a great place to be a part of?
I think there's an overarching theme as I look back in terms of my time in leadership, is that God has always had other leaders that have surrounded me at times, held me up at times, pushed me at times. So I've really been blessed with having just a lot of leaders who've been friends for my 20 years.
I think one of the things is watching, like Brent said, our kids. So diapers that we changed as little ones, not naming names, but Mason. And then watching them rise up as leaders in our church, that has been significant for me.
Brent, I'm going to ask you, what's one thing you've appreciated about Pam and the journey?
I would say probably I wouldn't have lasted as long as I had without her, because she has as good a handle or better handle on the church than I do in terms of how it's going. And she has always been someone who's, it's really a partnership, and so we end up talking about the church probably more than we should when I'm at home. And I would not be the leader I am without her input and her partnership in doing the work that we're doing.
I think for me, it would be Brent's faith He has unwavering faith. I say this, I get mad about it because I'm like, why don't I have that kind of faith? But he has this faith in God and he just carries on. And I wanted to give up so many times, but he's like a rock and he's stable.
Move on to what's the future look like for SouthRidge and for you guys?
If I was honest, last fall was tough for me. I was feeling quite dragging, and that had to do with COVID and not meeting with people. But I think with the things we're talking about as a board, the things we're talking about as a staff, I've got renewed excitement. And so my excitement's back, even though it may have waned in the fall. And so I'm looking forward to see what this next stage will look like.
I'm excited to see what God is going to do because I think COVID is going to do something in the faith community.
Just so you know, we did a special collection. Board and staff got together and we just said, hey, we're not going to let this go by and COVID's not going to steal this from us. This is going to get filled in a variety of ways. Okay, so one is it's been filled with a gift of money. A gift of money for you to use however you see fit. And between the board and the staff, we collect almost $1,200 for you as a gift to thank you. And know that that is a small token of hearts that are overflowing with gratitude for you. So what I want to do for our church family is to invite you. We're going to celebrate 20 together. And so on our website, beginning tomorrow, which will probably be you'll hear about it before then, is a link on our website. And Celebrate 20 is an opportunity for you to click on the link and then to share some heartfelt appreciation or stories or ways that these two have impacted you and their family has impacted you on your spiritual journey over this period of time. And so we want you to be a part of that. So you're going to go to our website, you're going to hear more about this, but we want you to just click on the Celebrate 20, and then you're going to be able to share in this experience, and we're going to give that to them as a blessing. And so here's this gift. You can't open it quite yet, but this is a gift to you. And use it, and we look forward to hearing about how God used it to bless you and to carry you through some fun times as we come out of COVID and you get to go and celebrate however you want to do that. We look forward to that. But thank you so much for 20 years. As we celebrate 20 with you, we look forward to many more.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.